Good afternoon and welcome to the championship final Sunday here at the Rocky Mountain Mixed Doubles Classic. We're going to have an excellent game on for you today. Team Lott and Lott versus Team Peterman Gallant. The only sheet in action, so we'll have our full undivided attention here. Of course, this event could not happen without the support of all our amazing sponsors. We have Vision Electronics, Distinctive Homes, Mary's Popcorn Shop, the Bow Valley Credit Union, the Malcolm, Ridgewood, GDS, Wildlife Distillery, and the Rocky Mountain Soap Company. Thank you to all these sponsors. They're the reason that we're able to run this event for our sixth consecutive iteration. My name is Desmond Young. I'll be bringing you some commentary today alongside Gord.
Good afternoon, Desmond. Thank you for having me out here. And of course, I'll extend a thank you to Curling Canada for their participation in this wonderful event again. So who do we have out here today?
So we have Lott and Lott against Peterman Gallant. Peterman Gallant qualified through the B event, whereas Lott and Lott qualified through the C. And so based on the difference in qualifying position, Peterman Gallant get the hammer in the first end as well as the choice of color. They have elected to throw the blue stones. They've actually played the blue stones on this very sheet twice, including in the semifinal. So they should be very familiar with those stones.
All right, well, as they set up here, we can probably take a little moment to speak to how much these two teams have been a part of Banff's Curling Classic. They've both been here numerous times. Peterman and Gallant have lost the final once, I believe.
3 times. This is their 4th time in the final. And last year they actually fell just short of the final, losing in the semifinal to Team Papley van Amsterdam. So they definitely have the experience of playing in the high-stakes games. They've also played in the national championships, doing very well there as well. I think the goal for today will be to get to that top part of the podium in this event.
And then, of course, we both know they've represented Canada respectively, so we really couldn't ask for a better afternoon matchup.
Yep.
Absolutely. Team Lott and Lott are defending Canadian mixed doubles champions from this past March, and Team Peterman Gallant earning a bronze medal in that event. Of course, this event was also a qualifier event for the trials. That spot has already been allocated to Team Armstrong Griffith based on their semifinal appearance. They lost to Team Peterman Gallant in that semifinal. That was our feature in the semifinal matchup. And at this point, it's just playing for money and points. So there is a $30,000 purse here with $6,500 on the line for the winning team, the runner-up earning $4,500 for their troubles this weekend. So not a bad payout.
I'll extend congratulations to Armstrong and Griffith. Again, the two teams on the sheet right now had already qualified for qualifiers, so they were the next best team, and congratulations and good luck to them.
Absolutely, and to whoever was quick on updating the Wikipedia page, we pulled up just moments after that quarterfinal had ended, and it was determined that they were the qualifiers, and within 10 minutes someone had already been on there and updated that page. So whoever that keener was, well done to yourself, and thank you for keeping us informed.
All right, well, 2 rocks into this game and we're already 3 rocks in the 4-foot, so we're certainly in for a treat if this is the way it continues. For a little bit of info of anyone who's been kind of spottily watching, the ice here in Banff has been running fantastic and extremely consistent through this. We've been seeing, call it 4 to 4.5 feet of curl. These teams have more prominent releases, so it's staying in that lower 4. And then we're getting around 15 seconds hog to start, and it'll drift down to about 14.5 mid-game. So pretty much pristine mixed doubles ice.
Absolutely, and Gord, you mentioned that we've been getting a lot of curl, and even this morning watching the quarterfinal, we were getting closer to 5 feet of curl, and that's now shrunken down. What factors play into the change in curl with progressive games on the same ice?
Well, it's pretty much just wear and tear on the sheet. You get some breakdown in the pebble, the ice is warming up. It doesn't have enough time to cool back down, so it's a little softer, which makes it a little bit harder for the bottom of the rock to grind in. So yeah, as your day goes along, you tend to lose, call it a 1/4 foot per game, short of a distinctive cleaning and repebbling or whatever, which they don't tend to do in these. So yeah, you'll lose up to a 1/2 foot of curl as half a day goes by.
I'm thinking less ice.
Absolutely, and we watched the ice crew. They had about an hour here between the end of the last draw and the start of pregame practice to whip the sheet back into shape. Of course, this live streaming sheet was used for the semifinal, and with that, I'd like to give a special shout out to that ice making crew for their excellent work all week, both in Banff and Canmore. This unique event in 2 different clubs trying to get the ice as similar as possible. And so we have Brian Armstrong here in Banff, Grant Randall, who worked in Canmore, and then we also have Courtney Ross, all 3 of them making excellent ice throughout the weekend and allowing these teams to play their best with very consistent ice.
All right, now we basically have 5 rocks in the 4-foot. Not a huge advantage for one team or the other. No matter where you look, somebody has a shot of some sort. That's what makes me like mixed doubles the most. In all my years of curling, in 4-person, you go in with a distinct plan. We're going to play the first 3 ends this way to try to blank or whatever. We're going to do this and that. Whatever. Mixed doubles, you go with basically we're going to attempt to do this, but you have to adapt with every single rock. And this is a great example. You can't predict how 4 rocks are going to look.
Absolutely, and it's interesting that a lot of the top teams that we look at, the 4 players out on our sheet, are not career skips in the 4s game. Both Jocelyn Peterman and Brent Gallant played skip in their junior careers, but since moving into men's and women's, they did not skip, and even these players are able to figure out that ice. So it's very impressive that the well-rounded curlers can figure out the angles just like the skips do in the 4s play, but then they also have the sweeping, the judging, the line calling, all those abilities wrapped up into a bundle of 2 excellent curlers.
It is a eternally equalizing game.
Okay.
And I like how it only takes 2 to tango in this. You get 2 people who
Line
can throw well and get along, and anything can happen. Lott and Lott's a great example. They came out of, fairly modest junior ranks, and they're now a Canadian competitor.
Absolutely, and a national championship winning team this year, and one of the top favorites for the trials to possibly represent Canada, wearing that maple leaf in Italy, which I would say is any and every young curler's dream.
All right, well, let's take a look here. So Brett Gallant, he's got
maybe it doesn't.
Next to throw, so blue coming down. That's a lot of yellow sitting in front of the house for not having hammer. Kind of feels like lose your own and lose a yellow. Your blue should sit right about where Jocelyn's broom is. And then, you're going to open up the blue to the right. It might spin deep down, but hey, that's still a countable rock. But this is get rid of some of that 4-foot traffic.
And so is this shot a softer weight hit trying to cross the nose on the rock touching the center line, or is it trying to get right into the crotch of the yellow and the blue?
If it was me, I'd want to hit the blue first with he's going to throw peel on this. And if you hit the blue first, you'll be a little lower on the yellow, which is less likely to move the blue to the far right.
Yep.
Yeah.
I appreciate the line call on the no sweep.
Did not spin. Same thing?
Wasn't quite what they were expecting for that middle yellow, but they did keep the
just
blue on the edge, which actually was a fairly important rock.
Yeah, it's the
That
exact
one
same
on,
shot.
the right side.
Even
of the
if I
4-foot.
end up freezing this blue, it's
Yep.
So now they're
probably
going to.
need a little less ice though, right?
The goal here is to make a straight line of yellows, which usually leads to a run back.
That was going to be my next question. If you do get a straight line of yellows, how does Jocelyn Peterman find the pinhole at the very least?
If it's high enough, you can actually corner freeze the yellow on the can, so you have one on both sides because they have 2 rocks left. And then
Wait's there.
Lott and Lott are going to have to pick which of the 2 to protect, and then you just dunk and try to pop the yellow out for
only.
1. At
Mine
best.
only.
Otherwise, you could run the one straight down the middle, but you're always guessing where the rocks are going to end.
I suppose with the scoring volatility of the mixed doubles game, a steal of 1 in the first end is probably not.
You can rationalize
The end
that
of the
one
world.
way
Yeah,
or the other. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, I would say Peterman and Gallant would be perfectly happy with giving up just 1. So with those so tight together,
I think if I just whip it at our 7,
freezing is
I don't
hard.
think I can hit the 2. But do you think I just whip it at the 7 and maybe see if those go?
Do you see 2 going? Yeah. Yep.
I'm not it looks like it's probably gonna touch the 1. It might not kill it, but I think it's gonna move it.
Okay.
You can even
And then
hear
they
his
draw, and
tone.
you might have side a button.
We're happy
give
to
him
give up
1.
1.
Am I just trying to get you as thin as possible, or?
I don't think it's a huge difference either way.
I don't think this will do anything.
No.
And we've seen some of the earlier draws today in the playoffs that the teams are okay moving rocks out to the edges and opposition rocks, that is, and not necessarily removing them from play altogether as long as they have the 4 foot. And without really having an advantage of blanking, giving up the hammer, it would seem that moving things out of that 4 foot alone is good enough, though we did see that Laura Walker had a pick in the 6th end of the quarterfinal, which essentially relegated them with a massive score to Team Lott and Lott.
Ooh, he's narrow on this one. Well, the good news is they've opened up the button. The bad news is there's still 2 yellow, and yellow's about to shoot. Now, they did give Jocelyn the button, which is actually in this case a huge win. They could tap their yellow back, call it 4 inches, which would leave that same kind of slash on the blue, which would easily spin out and give up 2.
She can't be high.
At this point, do you ever hit
No, it's just
the
the
blue
nose
that's
tap
in the
for
4
one
foot, knowing
for
you
them,
have a
right?
rock in the 12 foot, sit 4, and just
almost
add that
think
little level of stress
side
to
tap
Jocelyn Peterman's throw, knowing that if she misses for whatever reason, that 4 against in that first end is not good.
I don't see value in hitting the blue because it's cornered onto that yellow one, so you can't actually get it into the can. So that yellow one is actually behaving like a blue eliminator.
Yeah. So just like a.
As long as we don't give her an in off, right? She's
Yeah.
probably going to play this. I think we're overcomplicating it. It's so good.
Good statement. So they're covering the blue one because that's, to the shot Brett just threw, an easy way to kill a yellow. They're basically saying draw the side of the button for your one.
I just don't want to, I don't want to put it in.
And I suppose hitting the blue itself is a bit of a risk, knowing that you could accidentally hit the center guard and out of nowhere give them a double for 2 back.
You're going to move your yellow because they're cornered onto each other, so it'll pop over to the far side of the 4 foot, give you backing. That blue one's not hurting you. Short of if they somehow doubled them out, like a run back double something or other, but you're 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, so even a miracle shot's still only 1.
Wait's there. Lots of weight right now.
It's on a wider line.
Yeah, it needs to be. Weight's okay.
Line's good. Whoa, whoa.
Probably has
Gotta
to sit.
sit.
Yeah, this is not doing anything. Okay.
It took away the blue for the most part.
Right here, Joss, edge 8.
That would be a very daring blue hit because both blues would move to
Or
the
do you want a
right.
hair more than that?
They gave them the button. That's what they're throwing for.
That's pretty good, Joss.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of shot you want to have as your first end outcome.
No, and even though she threw a very similar shot on her first, they've now had 7 rocks thrown in between that, and the ice invariably changes, especially in that first end where they might be pulling some frost off the ice or just speeding it up to that top game speed like you mentioned at the start of the end.
If you asked too many people, would you like to have to draw the button on your last rock of the first end? They're going to go, no thanks. Give me an open hit.
Tough enough as a skip in the 4s game where they might have thrown the exact same shot, just the shot before, but now it's been the better part of 15 minutes since she's been in the hack.
Really easy not to get this wide enough out. We've seen a lot of over curls on these shots. But to your point, the ice is
Weight's good.
a little less swingy than this morning.
Move in.
Close.
Line's good.
Back 4.
Whoa, curl.
It's real close.
Curl.
No.
Curl.
Beauty.
Okay, no. That is a good sweeping judge when you can say no. Excellent throw by Jocelyn Peterman there. Good judge by Brett. Team throw.
Absolutely, and we heard Jocelyn Peterman and Brett Gallant in the semifinal round splitting hairs on 1/10 of a second. They were talking about hog-to-hog times, talking 14-7, 14-8, and that's the level of precision that they seem to be operating at, and I think that's evident in being able to draw the side of the pin in the first end, so very, very well done there.
So now here's the fun thing. Which team comes out of that end feeling better? I would actually say Lott should feel better about themselves. Sure, they didn't steal, but they forced one against a great team. They had lots of, Brett might not have judged weight, but not which rock was the back of the 4-foot. But anyways, I would say Lott should have come away with a little bit more momentum. But having said that, she did just draw the button, so that's reassuring.
Absolutely, and it's funny how quickly the momentum can shift. Jocelyn now has essentially the same shot coming in the opposite direction. She plants it on the button or right on the back 4 rock. Again, now Kadriana Lott has to respond, or else the momentum is instantly shifted as soon as Brett Gallant can put a second one right on top of there. So,
my favorite feature of mixed doubles is how fast you end up chasing. It takes about a half different quality shot on the first rock, and the worst of those two, they will be chasing all in long. It is just an absolute weight on your shoulders. It's a phenomenal feature of this particular style of game.
it is, and the inability to be able to hit until the 4th rock, so essentially the team with hammer's second rock.
Maybe top 4.
Forces the offensive play. You can't just bail out, and by the time you're allowed to hit, usually it's not your best shot anyways.
And just another beautiful pin draw.
Just like that, she's harnessed the power she got in the last end, and
coolly slides down the sheet. I got this, Brett. I got this.
Okay. Just try to cross it at her.
Should be good here.
And now these kinds of responses, you always want to be just slightly off nose with a freeze. You don't ever want to be dead nose because it just plows into your back one. But this is a fairly standard start to a mixed doubles end, especially against two teams that have draw weight down.
And is it a matter of just drawing and freezing the angle, or is it more important to move the rocks around a little bit and get some separation?
Finally, bumping.
My stance is if you're stealing, frozen is good.
Mine's really
if you're not stealing, separation is required.
Curl.
So this would be a bad thing to tap freeze the back one.
Shot.
So that's not, in my book, a good thing, because now, short of wailing on it with peel, but there's a lot of rocks in the way, that blue is really hard to get out now. If you keep at least a couple inches, there's always an opportunity to squeak them out.
So either a little bit lighter than that or a little bit heavier yet and actually moving the back yellow.
Yeah, if that yellow one had slid a half a rock out of the 4-foot, that's a great spot for it. It's not backing enough for blue to score, but it might be good enough for you to score with. The angle was nice, though, so nitpicking a bit.
Little bit, yeah, line. Yeah, line.
I think it picked.
Keep going, get it by. Yep.
We've seen a handful of picks across the game, some more consequential than others. As much as every pick sucks, it's better when it's earlier in the end. You have a chance to recover and hopefully get something out of it, but it's always tough seeing those unfortunate shots that you can't really do anything about. And
It's a piece of the game, but you don't want the game to be decided by them. So, first rock of the end, not, well, I guess second. Anyways, not the worst one to have a pick on. Don't ever want it. Hey, you're right.
Should be.
So now they're going to build some more advantageous angles. And again, if you could really freeze things together, then it takes every bit of that peel weight Brett has to get all the rocks moving.
Mine's good.
Now, Brett is one of the better people
It's
on
close.
mixed doubles tour
Mine's
for
good, Wolf.
straight
Right there.
back peel run backs.
It's close.
Really good, yep.
Let's say high side on it. A
Andrew,
little bit
Noel
high.
and I were talking in the quarterfinal draw just about
No, it
the
needs to
distance
curl cage.
between the rock you're hitting first and the second contact rock in terms of making a shot or feeling confident that you will make the shot. And it sounds like the top elite
Do you
teams
think you
will
can
have
throw
a bigger
backy?
distance between the two rocks where they feel confident
You
in
just
making
freezing?
contact on that back rock. So, I mean, even
You
for
like-
myself,
I like
we're
the
looking
freeze.
at almost 12 feet between those blue
I
guards
mean-
and the rocks in the
I just
house. I
can't
wouldn't
see it
like my
getting to,
chances on it, but
low enough to
Correct.
back
some of
eight
these
Okay.
top curlers,
You're
that's
just
in
trying
their
to get right on the
wheelhouse.
fade?
Yeah, you get to, say, the stronger junior teams, and they all want the guard to be the tight dot, because then they can throw the run back, but it's only 6 feet instead of 10 or 12. Now, sometimes I say to people in that case, if you're playing a team that likes run backs, what happens if you put that rock full 8 foot? Now it's usable for you, but it's also cutting back the run back. Like right now, if he did try the run back, it's a 2 rock wide target. But if that rock was
a little
say,
light.
2 feet higher and partially under that guard, then that run back isn't an option. So that's always something to
Got
play
room.
in your mind when you're playing, say, Evan Van Amsterdam, who absolutely loves
Sweet for
blowing
speed.
rocks up.
Mine's okay. Sweet for speed.
Absolutely, and clearly has found lots of good success finalists in this event last year and hoping to earn a berth into the trials based on the point system. I'm not sure
Correct.
exactly how that sits. So this weekend definitely earned them a few points for making the round of 12. But
Correct. I'm excited to hear from
Yep, just
Curling
buy it.
Canada later to say who did or didn't make it. All right, so Brett tried to freeze that one down into the pile, which would have been great because then if you run something back, that's the one that stays. He ended up doing what I was just talking about to himself,
Where'd you give me last?
unfortunately, which is to stick a rock in the
I'm gonna
way.
need quite a bit more ice.
That just makes those run backs so much
Even a little
more
more.
intricate because now you can, you're looking at about a 1/4 inch of the run back or you miss. Anyways,
to your point, as this end is developing in the point of separation that you mentioned on the second rock of the end, we're seeing that come to fruition here. It's going to be really hard to get that blue rock out of there,
Mine's
even
good.
though there's 3
Little
and
bit.
soon to be 4 yellows in the 4-foot.
Yep.
They're going to have a real tall order getting more than 1 in
Yep.
this end as it sits.
yeah, and
Yep.
Brett and Jocelyn are going to be more than happy just to get
Hard. Hard.
have 1. Good luck earning 2.
Hard. 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 Okay.
I don't know if that's deep enough for them to play with. If that had slid a half rock deeper, it's a very slashable rock. That would have been absolutely brilliant. 1/4 rock tucked just underneath that yellow, they'd have been in big trouble. But now that it's not quite past it, it's almost another guard.
Just freeze. Like, it's so thin for him to make that. I could
Yeah.
also just guard. Right?
Yep. I
Just
think so.
a little scary. There's,
I know.
but
I think so.
like the going in there is fine too. But I think then he's going to be able to hit it into his yellow and squirt so many that.
Yeah. You're going halfway?
Yeah.
Do you want the intern?
I would.
I just got 14.5 on his.
Yep.
So basically, Jocelyn was asking, stick with the standard, come in
Foot
from the
left.
boards, or cross center and go
Foot left.
outwards.
Both are tough. They seem to want to throw
We don't wanna
the
get
mixed
in the
doubles path
outside of
mostly
his,
in the
right?
pregame practice,
Yeah.
and then the nature of the game is
Okay.
you're throwing that
I think
or the edge
okay,
of the
maybe a little
8-foot
more.
ish to get to the button. So anytime you go wider or quite a bit tighter, if he was throwing the intern, you're finding a new path. So I don't know if one's easier than the other. I think both is a bit of an educated guess.
You fear going too far out into the 12 because the scraper blade around the edge of the 12
Looks
starts
close to
build
half.
a bit of a hill and it comes off really
Mine's
hard.
good.
And did the boomerang on Friday was doing it really hard for some teams. So sometimes
curl or is
crossing
it good?
center is
Mine's
easier. But
good.
these guys
Okay,
are
it's
pros
pretty
with a
high.
pop release. They can make it work.
Good.
If you didn't have a pop in your release, that probably would be on center line right now.
Absolutely, and no mistake there. That looks like it
That's a great guard.
has covered everything.
So they can only move the yellow with draw weight, so that blue is not going anywhere.
So essentially a setup shot then, is that right, for maybe a Hail Mary run back or an in-off something on their
Gonna have
last?
to
Is
try.
that
Yeah.
what they're trying, or are they trying to get a second point in there right away?
Yeah.
Judging by their taps and subtle description, they want to move that yellow in just enough
Pretty much that same
that
ice.
you could use it as a raisable rock. Like move it down
More.
an inch or
Give me
two
less.
with the other yellow aiming
I'd
all
probably
towards that
sooner hit the
blue.
guard, to be honest.
Basically nudge it to where they wanted it in the first place.
So as we watch this rock come in here, the one thing I find interesting with a final especially, only one game
Yep.
going on,
Mine
Oh.
only.
it sounds like they're having a conversation even though they're 150 feet away.
Curl.
That's a
In
good
your,
rapport.
in your
Curl, curl,
experience,
curl.
does the dynamic, the fact that it's so quiet out there, affect anything between teammates?
Oh, I wouldn't think so. In mixed doubles, the whole game is an ongoing conversation. When you're at the back, we don't hear them because their mics are off, but they're having a conversation. When they're out in the house, they're having a conversation with the other opposite ends of the sheet. It's an endless
Like, once they run
conversation.
back,
So
that's not going. Like,
you build a rapport with your teammates, and you just roll with it.
Am I just taking
So I suppose it
this
just
game
facilitates the
far?
conversation. You don't have to yell across the
Sure.
sheet.
And
Instead,
then
you can.
Some
just
people
talk.
almost don't need to say anything to each other. Like the Peterman and Gallant, half the time they just kind of nod to
You're
each
trying
other
to
and
be up
slide
here.
off.
Okay.
'cause
So this one
they-
I find interesting. They're
Do you
still
like
really
edge?
worried about that
Sure.
that yellow tappable rock. I actually wonder, and it's hard to tell where I'm sitting, is the right blue straight
And
back
quite a bit slower out
with
here.
peel going to pop out the blue? I
thought
would
it was
almost
slower. I
be
didn't think it was
inclined to draw top 8 partly under that blue one, because where I'm sitting, it looks like straight back with
15
peel,
and a good
that blue one
package.
pops out, and you get two,
I think
probably
you're trying
two
to throw
yellow.
Like a kind of a
Probably the top two.
Yeah.
Those three yellow.
Yeah, the,
yellow,
other,
blue,
the
yellow.
shooter and the 3 in the middle all just bang and disappear. And Lott can definitely throw hard enough. They're really worried about this tap, so
It is an interesting point. I suppose you can
All the way
accidentally
out there.
Yeah.
peel your own shot rock out and actually give up a steal of one that way. And sure, there is that risk. I don't know if that's
Make
a
sure
big
you're
risk.
over.
You're good.
Perhaps that's the
Sure.
mitigating factor that they don't think Team Lott and Lott will play that.
Real nice.
Let's listen in.
There's nothing we can do. It's gonna probably hurt us more times than not. Just throw it away.
that was plan B. Take your one and be merry.
And
Now,
so we
one thing I have seen a lot this week is don't just throw this away, use it. So, for example, in the last game between Lott and Lott, Jones and Lang, Jennifer had a rock to throw away, but she actually
What a
threw
draw.
the inside out to practice defending a power play so that she would know the path it would take to get to the edge of the 8 foot.
okay.
Edge of button.
So is that seen as an advantage? I know that she gets to throw it, gets a bit of that feel, but the other team also gets to see it, gets a time on it. Is that something that then neutralizes things, or it still advantage you because you got to throw it?
I would take being the one that threw it, especially with Caitlin being the one that would actually throw it. So she got to basically practice what it would be to do that cutoff draw against the power play right there.
And it looks like they would need just a little more ice than what they took to
Perfect
make
weight,
that.
foot more ice, absolutely. So there you go. That's one of the things we like to tell people. Don't just throw a rock away. Use it to learn something safe. Even practice a control weight hit inside out to see what it would do if you had to go
I'll
out
get
there.
it.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah, I suppose unless you're
tried
in
first
the
when we needed the angle.
last end of a World Men's Final, it's
Sure.
probably the only time when you just throw it down the side of the sheet. And
Yeah, you don't get any points for it. You get 0 for 0. Good job, but at least learn from it. All right, two ends in the books, and we are tied. Why don't we go through the sponsors again? They are such a big piece to the success of this.
absolutely, I couldn't agree more. We need the sponsors, and we're so grateful for everything they do for us. So we have many excellent sponsors, including Visions Electronics, Distinctive Homes, Mary's Popcorn Shop, the Bow Valley Credit Union, the Malcolm, Ridgewood, GDS, Wildlife Distillery, and the Rocky Mountain Soap Company.
Mary's Popcorn gets an extra shout out for me because they actually showed up and fed us, so. Or at least fed
It's
Steve.
okay.
That's
Easy.
pretty special. Well, as the
Still there though.
No line.
manager, we need him to stay happy
No.
for the entire weekend. So that's awesome.
Really
And
can.
many local businesses here that keep the community
Right.
thriving and important in the tourism industry as well. So for the teams who come in for the weekend and maybe stay a little bit extra, these are some of the big names in the valley.
So that was kind of funny. First end, we said Lott and Lott probably came out feeling they had the momentum. That end there, again, they're the one that scored, but you kind of feel a slight missed opportunity, or couldn't just quite muster it. And okay, fine, we scored, but so I would call the scales of momentum pretty even right now.
to your point, that just emphasizes how important that first rock is. Adriana made an excellent
Too much line.
first shot, and then after that, they weren't
Girl.
really able. They got a lot of rocks on the forefoot, but they weren't really able to execute the goals that they had. And had they
Keep
not, it
going.
could have been a steal even. And
Keep going.
fortunate
Keep
that they
going.
got the one based on that well-executed shot at the start.
So here's to our earlier conversation. She did that with plenty enough weight to keep gaps. So now, it may be a hair farther than they want to, but that's still fine. That yellow one is easy to get out because there's nothing behind it. So that's the subtle difference between how this end is set up and the last one.
Yeah.
This has the potential to set up as my all-time favorite ends when they're all in one perfectly straight line. And then somebody throws a cannonball and you see what stays.
That line.
Line's good.
Yeah, it's
Where are ya?
top 4.
Okay, line's good. Got a curl.
Still there.
Got a curl. 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 Curl, curl, curl.
Almost.
Almost. I was gonna say, someone's going to have to move that one back into place. It's
In defense of them, that was the right angle to play on that. The blue one goes out with any kind of a contact, but it was an almost on our perfect straight line of rocks. So now they go the other way and they corner that one and you become kind of a zigzag. This is the other thing I found interesting this week is a lot of teams followed down the same turn, but then instead of creating a zigzag, you make a bit of a line, which is kind of confusing because the middle one stays in that case.
Line's good.
Weight's good, a little heavy.
Okay, line's not good if you're heavy. Got a curl.
Weight's really,
would you say that's a tactical thing for
Little
some of
tiny
the
bump.
intermediate
on a
teams
lot of
compared
it.
to some of the Canada's and the world's best? Or is that small errors in throwing or managing the rocks such that they don't quite curl the right amount?
Typically, it's whether you think the rock is going to curl so hard it's crossing over and back, almost crisscross freeze. You see that sometimes on super swingy ice. But then you throw a little bit more
Nice to
weight
get
and it
inside
doesn't curl
and
as
just
much,
kinda
you end
tap
up with
it.
it on the wrong side.
Tap
So
it a bit.
my preference
It's
is go to the
ideal, but
side
if
you
I
intend to
freeze it,
freeze
it's
on and
fine.
take more ice,
Yeah.
but a few teams try to be crossing the nose because it is, again, to 4.5 odd feet of curl is plenty to cross under a guard. Overbury, so to speak. All right, so Brett bounced off a
even
little
need a
bit,
little
which
less
is
than that.
not ideal. They have a chance to get to the inside of this blue one, and then that'll be a very big target for later on. So here's an example of where you use the turn and try to cross over the nose.
I suppose it's too far to go the other way. You have to
Line's
cross it by
good.
so
Weight's
much.
close.
That
Yeah, you'd be papering
Bumping.
the guard to get the angle you need.
Bumping,
Lots of room.
bumping. Really bumping.
Lots of room.
the angles and the tactics are also really neat in the doubles play because it's not necessarily about being shot the whole end. It's simply about getting the angles right so that on the last rock you can make it look really scary for the other team. And
Yes.
we don't always see that in the forged game of curling, not quite in the same way.
One of the
Push
first
button.
things I have to help people understand when they transition from 4-person to 2-person is your shooter is as important as where the other rocks end up. So you go to throw a hit.
Which one
If
wears
you do it
6
with
days?
normal,
Wears
your
6
shooter's
days.
leaving the house.
Who
If you do it
knows?
with board, your shooter's going to stay. And maybe that's an in-off later, or maybe it's an angle for a tap, or so on and so forth. So that's, to your point, angles everywhere. Even your shooter plays it down the stream angle.
I was thinking quiet, but
Okay.
I don't hate weight now that you mention it.
And with that, it sounds like they're
Now you got
thinking of
second.
throwing
Really
a
see
bit
the
of a
point of
hit.
throwing a lot of weight.
What
Like
what
a-
are you
Well,
seeing?
There's a
was
difference
thinking-
between positioning and rock
Move the
elimination.
three at least a little more.
I
And the six.
What if we just come down?
let's see which one they choose.
Crazy.
I don't know.
Little bump on the 6. Little bump on the 6. Sit 2. Maybe bump that 3.
How hard are you throwing?
Back line. Back line.
So they have two choices. Blow the 4
You
foot
like
up,
that?
which makes at least 2 yellows leave and probably 1 or 2 blues, or just juggle them around.
So do I understand right? They're going to nose tap that yellow rock that's highest where Jocelyn's broom is?
Yep. Yellow into blue. Blue squirts down farther into the 4
Is that
foot.
what you want?
Shooter stays up high.
Okay.
Again, leaving your shooter to be useful later. Because if he throws peel at this, the shooter's probably going to go
Nose?
flying off somewhere.
Yep.
So now we're seeing what some might
Just give me a
call
little less because I think I'm gonna set
intermediate
it outside
path,
that.
right? They're used to throwing in that edge of the 8 foot, about 2 feet wider than this. Are they expecting it to curl more, less, about the same, given the
I'm
intermediateness
through
of
the
the
rings.
path there?
One of the hardest things to teach somebody is
Curl.
when you throw a draw, you take 4 feet of curl.
Easy.
If you're throwing back
Easy.
line, how much of the curl do you lose?
Jet line.
Because on a
Jet
sheet like this,
line!
most of the curl
Line!
is hog line in. Little over curl. He wanted a little bit closer to nose. He did get his sitting too, but his shooter rolled under the guard a bit much. But anyways, to finish that point, when you're suddenly throwing backline or hack, you lose almost a full rock of curl. So let's say you call a draw and you overthrow it. Well, now you all of a sudden think your ice was wrong, when your ice was actually right. You just threw it through too much of the curl because it's super swingy ice. It's such late break. So that point there, they took almost half the ice throwing hack.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make on excellent ice such as what we have
Yeah, like
here
you-
or
you can
arena
nose hit
ice.
the-
The difference between draws and hits is enormous. The peels will curl maybe an inch, whereas those hack waders will curl 2 or 3 feet and draws will curl 4 or 5 feet. And you can throw a hack wader 6 feet heavy and miss the rock you're trying to hit by an entire
Absolutely.
rock width and feel like a fool when it really was a small mistake. It just matters with the types of rocks and the type of surface that they've built at those arena events.
And then you need some internal honesty to say, I overthrew that. You didn't put the broom down wrong. You can't yell at anybody. It's a team sport no matter what. But yeah, you do feel a little sheepish when you miss because you threw it 8 feet heavy. All right, so it looks a bit like they're,
Try to get it like kind of just bump it to frozen.
you're kind of looking like
Ready,
move
ready,
that yellow one up with back
just
4
it's
to
a
back
draw.
8.
Okay.
Yellow into blue. Blue pops back a
last
little bit.
time.
It stays as backing. Little risk because the blue stays in the 4 foot, but it creates backing. And that, like I said, Brett's over curled, so he can't raise it in his next shot.
And I suppose with only 2 rocks left per team, including the one that's being thrown right now,
Yep.
the position of who's shot or who's above the tee
Weight's
line
good.
starts to matter far more than it did just a few rocks ago.
Line's good. Curl. Curl, curl,
sure
curl.
you
Drag
need
it, drag it, drag it.
Little light.
You have one. No.
It's actually not bad. They are second with a nice angle for their next shot.
She
But
can't see a lot of
I
this.
think his intention was to tap
from
it
here.
frozen to that blue one. Just over curled because he's a bit
here.
late.
She hits that the 1 in the 7. Like
So it looks like they're eyeing up the in-off off of the
Well,
side 4 foot
we?
yellow
If I hit
on
this
their right-hand side.
normal, and
Yeah,
move
take
that
out
into
that
here.
higher yellow one, the one top button.
And this.
So
Yeah, that's stupid.
yellow into blue into yellow.
Okay, this
2
side.
yellows
Yep.
leave. And then that one that's kind
Let me
of
get
scary
you
that Colton
rock
just tried to
like
use
normal.
is no longer there to use.
Absolutely really need that TSN illustration pen to draw things out. Maybe we can
There looks perfect.
request that for the budget next year.
And then we can hire someone to be the telestration man. So yes, this is basically going to be up, probably peelish, kind of weight, hit the wide open yellow, shoot dead sideways, and make another yellow go away. And you have a whole domination of blue on the left side of the sheet.
Yep. Yes!
Weight's good.
Yes, yes, yes.
Jeez.
So they were, in my estimation, trying to hit the yellow one thicker so that they ran into the other blue one more full. The good news is they pushed their blue one dead in between the 2 yellows. So now Colton can't just straight up hit the
This.
middle of the 3 yellows. illustration.
I think.
Yeah, needs a needs a little bit more precision than might have otherwise needed to get the outcome that they want. And with only one rock
That's
left
a
and
shot.
blue sitting 2,
It's the only
they
way
have
that
to
we
be
can potentially.
careful.
Like it still has the same in-turn draw for 2.
I think they're eyeing up the top yellow
Hit what I
one.
can see.
So the top of the 4-foot yellow.
Yeah, we're hitting like. I hit it here.
That's what I'm
thin.
thinking.
Yeah,
'Cause
and
then
if you end
the
up
blue
clipping
definitely
this,
leaves. The other blue
so
might
be it.
get chipped out. Hard to tell where we're
I
sitting.
think. I'll clip that.
But Jocelyn would then have to repeat that
Draw
beautiful
the
draw
button.
to
Yep.
the side of the pin for 2, which
Yeah,
One or
whatever
two,
you're
yep.
seeing, hack is fine.
she might make, but at a certain point, there's only
I
so
wouldn't
much
say
difficulty
4.
you can leave a player, and if they make those shots, kudos to them. This is, after all, the final of
Probably
this
hit 'em
world-class event, and so these
Probably
players
hit 'em.
are used to making some pretty good shots.
Just outside.
Now,
When I hit a thin
in the
quarter.
one screen, you can kind of see there is still the longer yellow guard,
Pretty
so
much
they
what
only
you
have
can-
about half of the yellow. So you got to
much
really
what you
manage
have.
your weight with this.
I think I heard them talking about hitting it thin. Is that a matter of just throwing it hard, trying to hit it accurately, or is it a matter of throwing that lighter board weight and having a little bit more input from the sweeper?
I'm less worried about the weight as I am the weight being paired with the line. They want to hit 2 inches of the rock, so pick whichever weight you're comfortable with, board or more. Could be anything up to peel as long as you know how to ice to hit 2 inches of the yellow one.
Yep. Yep. Hard. Whoa.
It's really close.
It's a nice shot.
That was a very nice shot. So,
Where's
to
that
your
mark?
point, Jocelyn has to recreate her draw.
think so.
That blue one
You
did
gotta draw
stay
here
as
again.
backing.
Okay.
And to my eye, this
go
looks
like here
easier
again.
than her shot in the first, and she does have backing off her own, needs to get, what, an inch and a half into the button?
But our previous conversation of
Supposed
if you
to be the same
overthrow
way.
it, you get the wrong line.
really
That backing can actually tease you
This'll spin
into.
if
It spins
Throwing
down.
it
We'd
4
already
feet
be
too heavy.
counting this, Joss.
So
Okay.
I would say
Okay.
pretend it's not there and draw the button.
Sorry, can you?
If you're a
Where
foot
did you
heavy,
take, where did you
it
take
will
last
save you.
time?
Just a broom head into the 12, but I don't think that's enough to get by that blue.
Well, just at maybe a half broom more. We have to
Okay.
be close to this.
They do need a decent piece of the button, so they
Little slower out here.
don't have
What's
a lot
that?
of room to
Little
work.
slower out here.
Well, I thought it was a bit the first end, yeah.
14.5's not enough.
I thought you threw a little more than that the first time, and,
Okay.
and we were going just a little wider.
Let's find
Take
out.
the ice you really want. I don't mind with another extra broom, but you're on the tee.
Too much.
I have lots.
I just took some off.
Okay, you're close.
Yeah, line.
Back a little heavy.
Yeah, line. Full room.
Still heavy.
Curl. 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 Whoa, hard. Woo.
Two. Beauty.
There's where that catcher saved her because she was 2 feet heavy. But she was throwing for it without it being there. And really good communication. I think you're a little heavy, but I took a little bit off. It looks just a little bit heavy. She called to make sure. Squeak just barely got by, but hey. And the answer was she threw almost dead on 14. So their ask for 14.5 was probably about right on its own.
And it sounded like they wanted just a little bit more, so a little bit shorter time
Yeah.
going faster.
Yeah, they're
between the
probably
hot
aiming
lines.
for, call it a 14.3, 14.2, and she threw 14. So that rock caught her, which was the point. All right, so we finally got a deuce on the board.
Yeah, it feels like a boxing match. You know, who gets the top score in each end, each round, and then I would definitely say that's
It's looking like a
Advantage
technical
Peterman.
knockout, not a true knockout at this point.
absolutely advantage Peterman Gallant in that one, but still back and forth. And I think, to your point, it's about Team Lott and Lott getting that little bit of momentum back after that really strong start, and responding with a multiple would be really beneficial for them here, I think.
So one thing I like to say to people with mixed doubles, just to keep in mind, and I've been kind of keeping track of the numbers this weekend, it's roughly 40% chance of steal. So your goal for the first call at 6 ends is to stay within a point or two of your opponent.
Similar to 2 ends
If
ago.
you have hammer, 2 points is fine. If you don't have hammer, staying
Line's
within
good.
1 is fine. You can steal without too much
Line's,
complexity.
line's good.
So this game is, for all intent and purposes, textbook right now. So even if Lott and Lott got forced 1 this end, okay, you don't have hammer, but you're
hard,
only
hard,
one back.
hard,
That is one
hard.
40% of the time steal away from a tie game again. Again, that's one of the bigger differences from 4-man. 4-man with more rocks and more hitting ability and more, shall we say, the game's been around longer. The stealing rate is 15 to 20%. Like you're lucky to do it a few times an event. In this one here, you can steal 2-3 times a game. I don't know if these teams will, because they're all throwing absolute darts at the bullseye.
Top 4.
But
Line's good, yep.
in principle, at least 1 steal a game should be doable.
Line's good, yep. Really curling.
Absolutely, and I think the reason that both of these teams have made the finals
Really
is because
curling.
they're good
Cross
at
it.
stealing and good at not giving up as many steals, and so that 40% might be 50%
Shot.
for these teams
Very
and
good.
30% against the teams, and so once they square up head-to-head with those excellent records, yeah, you're right, we might see far fewer steals.
That was a really
turn and
nice
just try to unlock it a bit.
response
Okay.
call. Caitlin
like
actually, to
top
our point,
4.
over curled the guard and
Do you like
cross
clear?
face froze in what's pretty much a textbook
less.
response to a top
Yeah.
button draw. So now, here's what we were talking about. Do you follow around to get the natural corner freeze on the yellow, or do you try to cross its face? This ice is so good, you can choose whichever one you're most comfortable with.
Absolutely,
Right,
sounds
yeah.
like they're going to unlock
Minimum.
it a little bit. Of
Okay,
course,
you
if
can
he's a little
go.
heavy, a little wide, he pops the
go.
blue out to the side, and then Colton Lott hits to sit 3 in the 4-foot, and all of a sudden
Gotta go.
the momentum
I think
of
I'm
the
bumping
end
a
is
little.
completely
Gotta
shifted.
go line.
Full 4.
Go, 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 go.
Okay.
Acceptable. That yellow one is definitely going to leave
Yeah,
if that
good
blue
throw.
gets hit in some manner. Maybe both blues go, but hey, the yellow vanishes, so that was their goal.
The out turn draw. Try to be
Miss?
nice. Yeah,
So this is a bit of a
I think
gut
we're just
check
freezing
moment.
it.
Do you feel like you
Where?
need to chase,
Yeah.
Angle?
or can you still milk the
Yeah, like from nose to, right?
Yeah. It's fine.
You win
Okay.
an end by having the best angles, but when you have hammer, you always
Even
feel
if
the
I nudge
pressure
there's a
of
bit and roll back on top,
losing
it's
control
fine.
of it and possibly giving up a steal. So they think they can still manage the angle, so they're going to hit their yellow one and pop that blue one out to the side of the 4-foot, I suspect.
And then when you say chase, can you explain a little bit more what you mean? Is that simply just a takeout, or what?
Typically, chasing basically means
okay.
they throw a really nice draw and then
Close,
you
yep.
rearrange rocks
Yep.
with some weight. It's typically
We're gonna bump
what
theirs.
chasing ends up meaning.
Yep. Whoa. Whoa.
We got to stay on ours now.
Yep, yep,
We have to stay on ours.
So there's a rearranging of angles. They don't, I'd say mind. I wouldn't say you don't care, but they don't mind the blue being shot at the moment.
Back.
You're
Do we
aimed
just try to
at
bump it like to here?
Yeah, that's all I'm thinking, like a rock.
Yeah.
Like back 40. Here.
Try
Back
to
4.
angle back again. So pop the yellow over a rock width so it's aimed at nothing.
Is this where there's a little bit of curl?
And this, coming back to last end and talking
to
about
4?
throwing the right weight, this is where it can get very scary
Think
very
so.
quickly. You throw it a little too heavy, you
Not saying that's
chap
bad
off,
ice. I
meaning a
just
roll
think
off to the side, and now they have something to
There is a bit
play a
in
double
here.
or a hit and roll off of.
That would be an absolute tragedy if you were to just clip and roll off. We nickname those the kiss of death when you're in the
Here,
land
more.
of a freeze, because nothing good comes from it. Because, yeah, you would leave a gimme double, and they're going to be sitting 3 or 4 rocks to your 1.
And I think it speaks to the quality of these curlers and the quality of play here. We take it for granted they can throw freeze after freeze after freeze, but anyone who's played a game of curling in their lives knows that can often be frustratingly difficult to hit the 8-foot, let alone a 1-foot box where there's another rock
Hard.
sitting.
But like,
Yeah,
you
hard
know
for
you've hit the
speed.
big leagues
Line's
when you
good. Hard for
no
speed.
longer count on the opponent making a miss or 2 for you to win from.
ugh.
Okay, well, there's a miss.
Just want to nose this, I think. Hair low. Hair low just to keep this angle here
Okay.
and to kind of hide these.
Okay. Just a hair low. Even nose is okay. Kind of wait.
Nose isn't bad. Yeah, nose should be fine. He's gonna try to bomb something, right?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to get just a shade low, but
Okay.
I'm kind of worried where this 3 is going.
What kind of weight?
Slinging board.
Okay.
I was having
I
the
don't
same
think
debate
it'll
in
do
my
much.
head. It'd be nice to roll in and corner on the middle blue, but then this one in the middle pops out, and then you can come in off of it, and so then you want to roll with it to cover that, but then you leave a path through it all. This is hard to picture where they're all going to stop.
So are these teams and these players able to visualize those angles, see all the outcomes in their heads, and predict the one that's best, almost like a computer algorithm in their head? Is that how they come to the decision?
I would say 85 to 90% of the time they can distinctly predict where the rocks are going to go. So there was kind of the conundrum. If that front
Nose.
yellow one had rolled a little to
or
the
a
right, it's
Or nose.
hair
cornered the
high.
blue one and you can't hit it. But then that far left yellow one is hit and roll in off of it. So now the yellow one is guarding the in off,
Yep.
but now it can be driven back and taking
Nothing,
2,
hey?
maybe 3 yellows out. So tricky, very tricky. The other thing they could have actually done is just tried something on this other side to leave that one for later.
I don't really want to.
I didn't have a problem with that call. It was just really hard to pick.
No, I know.
Almost
know.
would
Just
a
prefer
hair.
the yellow one to
Yep.
scoot full 8 foot. If that left yellow had gone a rock or so farther, then it would be useful later.
So this might be one of those situations where you're hoping for, at this level, not a miss, but a half shot. Get rid of 2 rocks instead of 3 in this case to salvage what they've built up thus far.
Or at least have this shooter stay somewhere where you can double back and bring your
area.
blue at the back, or sorry, your yellow at the back. Oh, never mind.
No
That'll
mistake
do.
there.
So now, it would have been nice for them if that blue-yellow had been a little more high, because then you could actually play a double across the front and you'd still be
Back
sitting
button?
2.
Yeah.
But hey, you got the whole 4 foot to draw to now, so not all for loss.
And this is where the quality of the ice comes in. I played in rinks where you only get 2 feet of curl, and this shot isn't makeable. And
Yeah.
it changes the way that you have to approach the game and changes the shot-making quality. So excellent that they're actually able to get one all the way around in the back 4 foot shot rock.
Yeah, and to your point, back 4 is not a bad place. It doesn't have to be above the tee. Yes, they'll probably chase you if you're low, but that's
Get a room.
Yeah, wait's
not
close.
bad when you have 2 blues out counting.
Close.
Better
Wait's
than
there.
wide open and
Whoa.
hittable.
Wait's there.
Close
Line
the
only,
line.
line only.
Yeah, line. Yeah, line. Hard line. Hard.
Snapped in the.
Ooh, that was a fortuitous little spin.
I mean, nose would be great.
Yeah. Board. Okay. Here with hack.
I like that. Yeah.
Hit
I mean, where did you take for me?
The 4 foot.
For your back 4, you were middle.
I mean, see where I got to.
Yeah.
So I
What to
like
think in
that.
mixed doubles,
Yeah.
forcing
Okay.
the other team to 1 is a pretty good outcome.
It's a win.
Is this a point where we're now thinking, let's try to steal 1 or 2? Or are we still thinking that Kidriana's going to hit the 4 foot like it's nothing, move on to the next end?
I go into this thinking I'm going to try to force them 1
Hack.
because she does have a path to the 4 foot.
Good
But
hack. Or
you know what? You make it as hard as you can, and maybe
keep
you
a broom.
get away with
I
a
will.
steal. But this is by no means a gimme steal, even if you make this nose hit. So yes, you approach it with the mindset of we're forcing them 1 spot, and then you can take the momentum of a hey, we stole. You also don't want to overcommit to having to nose hit this for the steal, because then you end up accidentally
Little heavy.
crashing and you're giving it 2.
Yes.
Board.
Yes. Hard.
Board.
Whoa. Whoa. Curl. 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 Sorry, Brad.
Whatever you're seeing.
2 skinny port draws.
I think it's kind of.
They seem very disappointed, but I think we
Yeah.
would call that the pro miss.
Yes.
You just can't hit the guard or the top
I think
rock
you're gonna
because
need
then
a
it's a
little bit
draw
more,
for
right?
2.
We got to
so
get past this one.
I think that's a pretty good outcome, even though they seemed a little upset that it didn't stay right where they wanted it.
Well, that's what I meant by that mindset of, hey, we're forcing them one. If everything goes perfectly, we get a steal. Okay, great. But then again, this is a $6,000 match. So stealing one is kind of a, hey, I'd really like to steal one here. But yes, to your point, that was the pro miss. They got past the guard with about 2 inches instead of 1 inch, and it rolled a little bit. Still made the port small. But it is chap-offable, for a make-up an English word.
And this is now the turn that she threw at the start of this end and in the second end, so expect her to be pretty close on this attempt.
Mine's good.
I would not expect the pressure to be a major thing.
Yep.
We've been in these
Mine's
positions
good.
many times
Straight.
before.
Straight. Keep going, Colt. Keep going.
I think you said that.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
He's close.
Good job.
I think it's a steal.
Probably measuring those.
Throw a stick on it. That's too close to count.
Absolutely, I would say that off of first assessment, I would agree that it looks like it's blue, but at this point, no point in trying to overanalyze it. They will, in fact, throw a stick on it to measure it, and we'll know the outcome of that in just a few moments' time.
Unintended fourth end break. Wow. Shall we throw a compliment to the ice crew again? Because this has been, in my 5 years of doing this, the nicest ice I've seen them put together.
Absolutely. I think they just keep learning and growing every year. And so, yes, let's take a moment to give a special shout out to all of our ice makers here in Banff. We have Brian Armstrong. In Canmore, we have Grant Randall, and we also have Courtney Ross, all three of which were making the ice all weekend. And the whole crew came to Banff here for the Sunday playoffs and were able to combine all of their expertise.
Almost to the 2 like that.
Yeah, 1 3/4 or something. Blue? Yeah.
Thank you.
And so with that confirmation that it is 1 blue, Peterman Gallant taking a 4-1 lead after 4 ends of play.
So you're down 3. You have hammer. Momentum is still fairly balanced. Like, they didn't get carried away at that end. They just didn't quite manage the angles. But you do have to say, do you use the power play now to try to tip the momentum in your favor? Or do you stick to your typical genre of, hey, I'd rather use it in 6 or 7? It's kind of a pick your poison, I would say.
Yeah, I've heard some are pretty rigid. They don't want to use it before the 6th end, using it as an advantage in those final closing ends to probably tip the scales and where the momentum is possibly the most important. Though we saw in our semifinal, Team Armstrong-Griffith used it in the 4th end. They had given up a single point in the first 3 ends consecutively, and I think they just wanted a different look, wanted something different, and actually got a miss out of Jocelyn Peterman, a very rare miss on the first rock of that end. And as the event end progressed, they only ended up getting 1 at the end, but they did score for the first time in that game, opening up possibilities for themselves. So I think it was effective in some ways, and they definitely had chances, just on the wrong side of a half shot there halfway through the end.
So if I was the coach, I probably would have said now is the right time to use it, because a 3-point deficit against a Peterman Gallant feels quite heavy. So let's say you go use it and you get at least 2. You're down 1, and again, stealing is not that unheard of, and you're only going into 6. So you're down 1 and you have 3 ends to manage the score. If you carry it into, say, the 6th or the 7th end, okay, let's say you're down 3 going into 7. Well, now that doesn't feel as good. I'll take 2 and steal. So I personally would have preferred them to use it here just to tighten up the scoreboard and open up that, because steals come from tight games. So that's just my stance in this one, as I would have called it here. But each team has their playbook.
Yeah, I think I'm understanding you're saying more roads to victory. If Peterman Gallant continue to maintain a lead, they might play more defensively, less risky.
Yep.
Might choose to take one instead of a shot. Maybe that could give a steal of one, but could also give two that then opens up the opportunity for those steals.
If they're happy to score ones, your chance to steal diminishes. If they're fighting for twos and threes, your chance to steal increases. Hence, a tight score is in your favor.
Very nice.
But, anyways, 3-point deficit is by no means insurmountable in this game.
Absolutely. And as we're starting the second half of this game, I'm curious your thoughts. 6,500 versus 4,500 is a pretty sizable chunk of difference of money, the pride of winning the event. But I think we can agree that the real prize is coming up in about a month. The mixed doubles trials. So how much is this scouting each other out, getting a sense of who your opposition is, how they're playing, and preparing yourself as best you can for the big event, getting to wear that maple leaf if you can win the trials?
Doesn't have to curl, doesn't have to curl.
That's a very good question.
Hard.
I would actually say this is about winning this game. You're both throwing absolutely brilliantly. Like, it's not like we're seeing zeros scattered all across the board. They've both qualified, so you're not needing more CTRS points or whatever. I really think this is about the pride of winning this game and getting $6,000.
Freeze at high side.
Now, the only thing I would consider if I was Lott and Lott is try to break the pattern. You've lost this pattern 3 ends in a row. They are out-angling you with the little jiggles and wiggles. So I kind of wonder when you actually try a perhaps more open end.
Sure, I suppose even on your first rock, throw it a little harder, maybe intentionally chap off. Instead of having a single line down the center line, you now have 2 lines on the side of the 4-foot. See what they do. I don't mind that idea, actually.
You saw lots of teams earlier this week playing a lot of kind of backline weight shots in this case to open up the 4-foot and push more under the T line. We've had 3 ends of freeze on freeze on freeze on freeze on freeze, clunk, somebody scores one.
Fine only.
So I would have contemplated something like, hey, this one here, you could easily hit, call it a quarter of that blue one with backline weight. The blue goes back 8, your shooter rolls side 8, your 4-foot's fairly open, you got 3 yellows in the house.
I don't think I can
That's just
kill
a
that.
change of gears
I
because
don't think I can kill that.
they aren't winning this one right now.
Absolutely, and we saw a similar pattern in the semifinal. Peterman Gallant.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good for now. They're probably
Masters
planning
at
out.
managing those angles, making the perfect freeze
freeze
shot
the
after
hair
shot,
lock
end after end, and
Well,
I don't mind the analysis of trying something different if you're Team Lott and Lott. Surely they've mastered the angles themselves, winning a Canadian Championship earlier this year in March, but as it stands right now in this particular game, it seems like changing something up is worthwhile, at least to try.
They do have a couple of really nice angles and shot right now, so, you know, I'm not above saying not the greatest choice, but.
And so how would a game like this, where you're straight into the 5th end, you don't get that break in between the halfway point of the game, versus the playdowns where there's essentially a mandatory break, they sweep the ice and you get a chance to have a snack, talk with your coach. How does that potentially influence the ability of a coach to say that to these teams, or do you think they're pretty self-dependent?
Most of these teams don't actually bring a coach to these kinds of events. They may have an at-home coach or whatever, but traveling with a coach is difficult and expensive, and et cetera, et cetera. So most of these teams don't actually have a road coach with them, and most of them I ask say they'd prefer to just keep going. You know, in juniors you get out your snack bag and you have a mandarin orange and you meet with your coach and you reconcile on what's happened so far. But I actually find a lot of the, call it, over 25-year-old teams just want to keep
hair
going.
high.
It's only the teams that are
Roll for a guard.
getting kicked in the posterior that go, I need a break.
I got to make the double.
That's fair enough. Yeah, and I think thinking
For me
back
to
to
make
my
it
junior
sliver
days
high.
before the
know if
introduction
I'll
of having a
really
coach
cut
on the
anything
cold side of the glass, we only got to
That might be the play. Oh, it's just like I got nothing on this side. I put anything over there, his blue doesn't go anywhere, right? Okay, it's just a sliver high with firm.
On this one?
No,
You want to
the
play
guard.
that one?
Firm weight, sliver high. Try to
Gone
make the
to-
double on that blue in the 4-foot. Okay.
What?
I got to make sure that you know what we're doing.
This one.
With only 2 people
Yes.
on the
I'm trying to
team,
double
that is
wrong.
important.
I'm trying to do this. Cage, look. I'm trying to do this. And double that off.
Okay.
He's going to freeze, but then I might have some kind of run again. Or some kind of double. Intern.
First
Huh?
run back of the
Intern.
game.
So hair high.
Yeah.
Now Colton does like to throw a lot of run backs, so that's realistic to make this. I will say the 4-foot path has been curling more than most of the players have been expecting with Peel.
Well, yep. Whoa. Yep. Whoa. Yep.
This is low. That's not good.
So yeah, it's a characteristic of these sheets. Once you're truly in the 4-foot path, Peel is curling about an inch or 2 farther than they're all expecting. And it's always 2 or 3 in before they figure it out. I was hoping
Yeah.
being Sunday that they remembered
Then
that.
half.
Yeah, there's a tendency. I mean, I've done it for how many years of just wanting to put the broom in the middle of the rock and throw it hard and assume that a peel doesn't curl. But to your point, I do think that they move, and
Is that everything?
figuring out the amount that they move, be it an
Yeah.
inch,
Right
be it
through,
4 inches, matters.
Threw normal a little wider, didn't really curl. I think that's a little too much ice.
Okay.
So now they're popping the yellow through the hole, maybe play the double. They wouldn't mind to get rid of both of them.
Doesn't look like you gave me last. Good.
Now Brett has a fairly prominent pop in his release, so his is still falling and then curling back to where he wants it.
Yep. Yeah.
Or not.
Really hard, Brent.
Yeah, I pointed it. Nose works, maybe.
Teach me to compliment him.
Sorry, I threw that terribly.
Normally he has a pop, and that would have been a nice double.
Absolutely, and it seems like that's something you have to account for if you don't do that. We see that with a lot of the top teams. Is popping the release better for curling? Does it actually make
Trying
you
to
a
sliver
better
by,
curler, or
but
why
I'm
do
never
all these
killing
top
this.
curlers
No.
pop the releases, as we call it?
Sliver by with Peel. Might get it at
Let's-
here. It's at 2, right?
Curious what they're seeing.
Okay.
Okay, they think they can make the double. Okay. To your answer, a bit of a pop takes the erraticness out of the curl. So on this sheet here, we're getting, call it 4.5 feet. If you don't have a pop or you have what's called a soft release, you're getting at least a foot more, and then it's almost impossible to draw the center line. So it's just reducing some of the volatility of the curl on these sheets, which makes it a little bit easier to read.
Sliver more.
And then on the hits, to your point, you can put the broom where you want it.
Yep.
Also look
Whoa.
at here narrow.
Girl.
Where I'm sitting, it looked closer to the guard than it was.
Yeah, we have seen intermittently on
On the nose.
that side of the sheet, so going away the intern, that some of the rocks are backing up there. We've seen it quarterfinal, semifinal, and possibly that one as well. That
Just if you
there's
know,
some
like,
spots
you-
where it seems
Has
to
the
back
bend
up.
up.
But
We did time it last draw,
nose is good.
Board.
and
Yep.
most peels players are throwing, call it like a 7-ish kind of second shot. Colton's throwing 5.5. He is throwing significantly harder than most of the rest of the players out here,
Yep.
which could also play into a bit of an unexpected outcome. Hard to say.
absolutely, I suppose a peel at this level isn't simply just throw it as hard as you can. There is a designated time, just how all the teams have a normal or a board or whatever weight they're targeting.
Okay.
Like, I think that was just board.
Okay.
Great. You got it. Good throw. Your weight's perfect.
Nose hit. Something that's
Clean. Clean. Yep. Yep.
give you double. Throw one on your own.
Great shot.
There you go.
And I suppose it's not quite desperation time to the point where you're going to throw the run back double and try to get 2 that way. Is that right?
It's long. You've thrown one. You didn't ice it right for the one you did. Yeah, there's a run back double for 2. I still think I'd be more content with down 2 stealing than possibly down, what would that be, 5, 6, 5?
So we're not quite at desperation
No.
time. We're still in the game, can steal a couple of points and get right back into it.
Close for line. Line's good.
Yeah, like weight's there.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Sit.
This is a hold your breath moment.
One.
Another uncharacteristic and unfortunate miss.
Absolutely, and it's tough the first rock of the end. That weight is perfect. You can move it around a little bit, but when there's no more backing, you only have that 2-foot window or so to get shot rock there. And while they're setting up the stones for the 6th end here in our Rocky Mountain Mixed Doubles Classic Final, I'd like to take another moment to thank all of our amazing sponsors. We have Visions Electronics, Distinctive Homes, Mary's Popcorn Shop, the Bow Valley Credit Union, the Malcolm, Ridgewood, GDS, Wildlife Distillery, and the Rocky Mountain Soap Company. Thank you to all. And if you haven't seen during the stream here, we have these awesome banners on the side of the ice, and I think that's really awesome to get to show off the sponsors as well as in the ice there. I know that all the players get to have their team sponsors on their jackets, but we don't quite have the same thing. There's no home team, if you will, that gets to walk around with all the event sponsors.
All right, so now we get the power play. Be it should have done last end or not, irrelevant. They're going to use their power play here. Now you're kind of thinking we need a 3, but certainly a 2. Peterman and Gallant are going to come out with the fairly textbook Iowa lead defense, which is what we call the backward split. So trying to catch the outer half of the guard, which is your own, and push it anywhere towards the house. In the house shot is ideal, but anything out of the way of the one at the back.
Too much room.
It's good, not heavy.
Curl. Curl.
She flipped
you're
it out,
fine.
and we're going to get the super secret
Curl,
advantage
curl,
of this,
curl.
which is
Oh.
clunk the one in the house.
Sorry.
That is also why that is such a prominent defense. Short of hitting something out of the house, you almost cannot go wrong with that. There's only 2 things you can do wrong. Hit it out of the house or hit the guard dead nose and make a double guard. Those are the only don't do's. I love that defense when you have a lead.
And I think
Tap it and roll
this shot is a little easier on ice that curls more because they've actually played that wide. I mean, she probably went edge of the 12-foot, but if it's only curling
Whatever-
2.5
whatever's gonna
feet,
get you on
you're
the
now
inside
throwing
of that
3 feet wider than anyone's thrown a draw, and
Center
it's going to
line
be
with,
frosty
like,
or
maybe
who
like
knows what no one's thrown out there. But with
pop it
great
open.
ice like this, I think they can perhaps make it with a little bit more certainty, or maybe I'm giving the ice too much credit, and Jocelyn Peterman's just a world-class curler who can make a shot regardless of if she's thrown down the path.
Yeah, she tried to pop it out to the broom. Was a little wide, but it's fine. So now they're going to try to get across that blue one.
Yep.
And of course, this is where that second end throwaway comes in handy. They
This is
put it on
exactly
this.
the shot she threw.
Curl, curl,
Cross the nose, push the blue under T-line, 2 under the guard. Really nice shot.
Where I had the broom for you is right on the edge of that decal, like right on the decal by the rock, right on the edge
Okay.
of that white.
I think that's close, Brett.
So try
You're
the
spinning
reverse
down quite
split
a bit,
again.
but just give me a little less. I want to throw a little more weight.
Okay.
Weight's good.
Queen, yep. Yep. Yes. Hard.
So that there is the textbook reverse split. Push yours into the outer edge of the forefoot.
Yeah, that looks pretty perfect to me.
So now they're going to have to throw a guard back up there or something to protect those two yellows for a little while. And then eventually they're forced to go after that one out there, but you're hoping that it's for the third point.
And this is one of those unique situations where mixed doubles play actually starts to look very similar to fours play. We talked about it in the 8th then when the two teams were tied and it was center guard, peel it, center guard, peel it. And it looks a little bit like the fours in situation where one team's got a corner guard, something buried, and you peel and you go back and forth. Do you think the experience in the fours play with similar situations will help them out here?
The one thing I've seen, especially this weekend, is not overcommitting to the guard.
No, I think
So in foreplay, you'll throw the guard 3, 4, even 5 times in a row. Here you throw it once, maybe twice, and then you got to get creative.
I suppose the end is just that much truncated. Instead of throwing a guard for all of seconds and thirds rocks, you have one of those.
Jones and Lang actually really surprised me. They never threw the guard in defense of this, of the power play. Even when they were down.
You think?
They immediately went around and got the play into the house and basically tried to set the team up for a mistake. And it worked for them. Actually, it was
but that side of the
interesting.
rock.
They never threw the center guard. I guess that was probably a compliment to their opponents, thinking if we throw a guard, they're either going to use it or B, just hit it away. So why waste the rock?
Absolutely, and with a semifinal finish in the event, it clearly worked. They made it quite deep into the playoff in this stacked field.
So now Brett's just going with peel the guard.
Watch your shooter.
Made a cute little roll guard on his own. Perhaps he was hoping to hit a yellow on the way by. It was hard to read.
Roll under.
I was about to ask, was that what he was trying to do? But then I heard him apologizing to Team Lott, which would suggest that it was probably just the straight peel and the cheeky roll to a center guard was not the intended call.
They never called the sweep, so I would assume they wanted it to curl more.
Yeah.
Or I hit and roll to the wing.
The one thing I wonder here is if you can actually, I can't see where I'm sitting, if you can get the play over towards that back blue somehow, because it looks like it's third rock.
Yep.
Give me some ice.
So even if you left this half a rock open, if they try to hit it, it could actually catch on that back one. So I don't love his idea of roll away just because this blue one needs some attention.
Might he ever want to roll away to make Peterman Gallant think about a wide hit, new path, maybe roll out, and then they can play to the back blue, or is that underestimating your opposition?
I might call that hoping too much of a pro or a non-pro miss.
Curl. Curl. Curl, 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 all the way, all the way, all the way.
It's fine.
That's kind of what I was picturing. Even if you could have squeaked a little roll under, would have been ideal, because then a hit could very easily catch on that blue.
We're going to be.
This is a more likely miss than a wide open hit and roll out.
It's just a little tricky. Do you like that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a little tricky. I'd hate to be half rock high. What do you think?
Now they're looking at that shot rock. Do you
Just
ever
like,
just
you know, if I rip the double, they're probably
Yeah.
the double? I was about to ask that.
That was
Here?
if it was Jocelyn's rock, I'd probably play the double and say, hey, have your 2. But there's still 2 more yellows to come. So they're throwing extremely well, so I would still be inclined to do exactly what Colton just did.
Probably, eh? No, I think it is.
We've actually seen some mediocre misses on Brett's hits, so maybe that's where Colton and them were going. Excellent weight control. Very,
Nice
very
tries,
controllable
but-
weight with the broom.
Both of them being Colton Lott and Brett Gallant barely pushing the rock out of the house, and I think that's, you can probably speak to this, but one of the things coming out of juniors, people like to throw it really hard. I know I was in that boat. You want to throw the peel as hard as you can. You want to take things out, make
His
sure
nose is back.
it's dead, as they say.
And they have a decision to make.
How does that transition
Right.
into men's or women's play with the lighter weights affect things?
You risk kind of putting 3 into play.
Just give me one sec.
You
Curious
might
what
draw,
used
but then you might have a run, kind of run double maybe
This
for
one
3.
here.
I think it is the same shot.
Okay.
I think if I draw in there, it kind of takes him off the hook.
Still like that hack weight?
Yeah.
So while they set up for this, my answer is this. People
Same
throw
weight, just get the
hard
nose.
to take the guessing and the judgment out of a hit. You throw it hard,
Should
you
run
don't
a
need
little
to call it
straighter
'cause
now.
you either make it or you didn't. If you throw it lighter, you have to
there?
call it right.
Yeah.
But that's the right way to do it. Throw just enough weight to make the shot, and as a team, do it right. Because if you throw hard but miss your target, you miss. There's no saving it. So that's my stance in coaching. Pick the weight that you can best manage and shoot your shot.
Right,
Make your
that makes
shot.
sense.
Close. Yep. 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 Whoa.
Weight's good.
Whoa. Clean.
So now the challenge they had here is they aren't out counting the back blue. That's why that was such a tough decision to make.
Fuck.
So now they're
Sure here, I
sitting
love it.
maybe first, third, fourth.
I think so, hey?
Do you ever try the weird
I got it if I hit.
You go right here.
hit and roll?
Like that's, you know, a really tough double.
Yeah. Yeah. Top 4,
Right
top
there,
8.
right there, they do this. Okay?
Yeah, that's bye-bye.
Can't line them up. So this is the kind of,
Yeah,
this is
that's what I was
this
thinking.
is the spot I don't want to be.
That's the don't go zone.
That's fine too.
What do you
Then
think?
they run it in, but I mean that's not her bread and butter.
What do you think? Or is this better?
Well, not with space, but that's a good shot.
No harm down where his feet are either.
I'm happy with either. Like this man, that's still going to be a really tough shot.
Yeah. Let's lose it. That was my first thought. You good with that?
Sure.
Terrible phrase, but I know what she means.
Back 4.
Yeah, to me it seems like there's you can
like that
either
broom?
commit to an exact weight
That gets by, right?
and
Like,
the line has some leeway, or you can commit to an exact line
take
and the
a
weight
split second.
has some leeway. Of course, if you're coming deep,
Here?
you have to be
Yeah.
buried. Otherwise, that
Yeah, let's make sure. we're
shooter
behind
double
that blue,
on
yeah.
the 2 blues with the blue about to be thrown would be a gimme for a team such as Lott and Lott. Or if you're a little higher,
Little
you have a
slow
little bit
in
of
here.
leeway on the line. Am I seeing that right?
Okay.
My best way of saying it is know where not to put it, which is
So
exactly
going
what
this
he pointed
direction.
out, right in a straight line,
you are a little
or
bit tighter, so
open
you
enough
can
to
kind of
make a
cancel
double
out.
off.
You can, like,
Otherwise, put it underneath of that blue guard, out counting the yellows. You got a pretty big target.
Back button. You got it.
I think one thing that these top teams do so well that sometimes gets missed at that intermediate level is you've decided where you don't want to put it, but now you have to commit to a shot. Otherwise, you can easily throw it right to the hack, and they
Well,
have
you didn't
a,
put it there, did you?
They have a single hit, exactly.
Thought a
Making
little
sure you
light.
commit to
Guardrail.
one of your
Think the
3
weight's
good
good.
spots.
Line's good.
And
Yep.
I think they very much did that. They wanted to go around the guard. They wanted to be buried in deep.
Back 4.
I think you'll see them put it right where they want it.
Another way to phrase it in coach language,
Back
the
8,
shooter
back
needs
4.
a target. The team needs to know
Keep going.
globally what they can't
Keep
or
going.
intentionally
Keep
do kind of
going.
thing, right? So that is a very good team shot.
Pretty good, Joss.
I see no double.
Really good.
It's very.
I don't know if that yellow just grazed the blue, but it probably spins over the back blue.
Or no. It's not this
Yeah.
for 2. Forgot this one's out counting.
I was
it,
going to say, I'm not sure who's actually out counting who over here on the right.
right? Or just double check.
I think you just have to take your for sure one and hope on the stick.
So similar to last end, given that the 2 is
It's close. Eh?
probably there,
Yeah, it is
still
close.
not time to throw it in and go all in.
Yes, but
Okay,
I'm not
let's just
sure
punt
what
it
your
then.
throw it all in is. Could you?
That weird
Normal weight.
steep
Well,
angle
We're
double.
looking at
I'm sitting a little
2/3?
offline, but could you make a call it board weight catch just enough of that blue to then spin down? Because you only got to move this back blue on a foot. I just can't tell if it's overburied so far that you can't even get a piece with board weight.
My initial assessment is yes. I think you have to get creative, find a rock that curls a little extra, throw with a little bit less pop, and now you're getting into
The Friday night open league curl. Lazy turn.
might be there with that.
So I think they're going to do the short run back and hope the stick's their friend.
Yep.
Not very far.
Whoa.
That'd be
Yep.
close.
Yep. Yep. Ah!
Didn't quite get out to the stick.
Yeah.
I can move this guy, right?
I'm not sure there was a too thin there. Like you would have really had to almost miss the rock to be too thin, but I don't think she quite got out there.
Usually the sweep almost directly out of the hand would be an indication that
It's one of
either
the-
the broom was wrong and you immediately knew it, or you just didn't quite get out to where you had hoped to.
While they set this up, I'll just throw it out there. It's one of my favorite questions as a coach is to say, how do you know when you want a sweeper versus when you want a target?
How about her?
Because you have the choice, right? You can tell your partner, stay in the house, and I'll throw at you and jump up and sweep it, or I want you to come down and sweep for me. And a lot of people have a different perspective on that. So let's see how this measure goes.
Four
I
and a
think
half.
4.5, yeah.
That went around 17 times.
Let's do it again. I think that was 4 1/4. You want to move? You want me to move it?
Oh, yeah, sure, move it a little bit.
A little
How
less.
badly you wish you stuck that hit.
Just under 2?
Yeah. I think it's you guys.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not by much, but
No, it's like half a tick.
Always such a gentleman, the big Gallant.
What was it?
Absolutely, and relatively pedantic point, but they did an excellent job in that measurement. Textbook setting it up, going around, taking the measure on one rock, then the second rock, and then remeasuring it by going the entire way around, sticking with the clockwise turn, actually adjusting the dial. So any aspiring junior vice skips out there, that's the way you want to do it. That is perfect.
Okay, now, do you counter with your power play here, or do you save it as an ace in the hole at 8 if something goes really bad?
I'm inclined to use the power play myself. That way one of two things happens. You almost guarantee yourself almost 1 point, or best case scenario, you don't even have to play the 8th end.
Counter argument would be even if you give up 1 or 2, then the 8th end is a wide open 4-foot.
Whatever turn you're seeing,
So
Jake.
it's
Almost
a preference.
intentionally giving up a
Yep.
steal of 1 in
Yep.
this end.
You could very easily give up 1, even 2. 2 would be not wonderful, but you could easily give up 1 here and be like, okay, we're rolling in and playing our power play, and now you figure out how to score 2 more. But to your point, nail in the coffin early is not a bad thing either.
Yeah, it's an interesting point you make. I think the contingencies are fun at the end of the day. They're playing really well, and I think hopefully they're not losing sight of that, continuing to make your shots. And if they do that, even if they go par to par, 2 points each in the last 2 ends, it's not even close to enough for Lott and Lott to
Yep.
win. And so
Really
if they
curling.
keep doing what they're doing, making the majority of their shots, then it would seem
Really
that
curling.
Lott and Lott would have to do a lot to
I
pull
have to
this
laugh
one
at that
out.
one. Lott and Lott have to do a lot. Lott squared, perhaps? So textbook answer there, throw up a center guard. this is where I was saying Jones just went to heck with it. I need to steal at least one or two, but I'm going to throw it in onto yours, corner you to be shot, and make you earn one. So they took a very different approach here. But the center guard is the textbook answer.
Okay.
I agree, and a note to all of our viewers, the no-tick rule does not apply in mixed
probably
doubles
throw a
curling.
little less
Correct.
weight
You
than you
can't
last
remove
time,
any
right?
rocks for those first
Little
3
bit better
shots,
ice.
but
Yeah.
there's
Right.
no on the center line, off the center
Little
line. You can move whatever rock as long as it stays in place. This is a perfectly legal center line tick. My other point to Team Lott Squared, as we are affectionately calling them now,
Hard, Brett.
their first shot. I've actually played this
Keep going. Whoa.
myself where I've been down against a power play and throw the first one into the top 4. It's a little bit of a different look. They can't hit it right away. They probably try to tap it, but it's not always successful. And
Beauty.
The only reason I don't love that is because you can play a tick-style shot, and now their rock is in the house. Whereas if it's in front and they play that kind of a tick shot, you're trying to get some semblance of a guard to play with. That's the only reason I don't sell that as a choice myself. Sure, you got rocks in the house and they can't hit it out, but in a junior world where there's a high likelihood they will hit it out is different than at this level where they're just going to split it and have another blue in the house. So now they're flipping
Mine's a little
gears and pulling the
tighter.
Jones tactic,
Yep.
which is quarter freeze the side one. And as long as you're short, this is,
Yep.
closer to the center, this is
Gotta
a
go line.
decent power position.
Gotta go line. Whoa.
I've seen too many people actually over curl this and then they end up
Whoa.
not shot, and that's difficult.
We got no backslider.
looks really good.
Gotta go
And
flying.
Really nice shot.
And to the observant viewer there, Colton Lott lost the rear slider
Goes under that blue, right?
from his shoe, and looks like he's now successfully retrieved that. Just a Velcro on, so shoe is not broken.
Get rid of the guard. Guards. Underneath the blue. Hard to tell where we were. Now comes that question. How many rocks can you
Center guard.
exhaust on a guard?
Center guard.
Yeah, I don't mind this.
I really like this play. Sometimes you'll see the team with the hammer say, oh great, now we can play the slash peel. Doesn't necessarily help them though if they were to accidentally jam it. The rock rolls into the 4-foot, and now instead of having an 8-foot yellow, you have a 4-foot yellow. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Brett Gallant and Jocelyn Peterman actually peel the other way to make sure that there's no risk of jamming.
Absolutely. The direction of the peel is as important as the peel itself.
Yeah, it's okay. It's got to be usable too, right?
So now that was Colton's second one. So they'll peel it. And then it really becomes a bit of a gut check of, do you burn one more on a guard? Do you pull a Jones and double stack on the right side there? Try to bait into something? Do you split the house? Like, yeah. Sooner or later, you just basically try to set up a miss.
Got to get this one tight, even a little tighter.
Yeah, and even
Okay.
though you mentioned earlier in the game that hoping on a miss is not a very good strategy. At the end of the day, when you're trying to steal, you do physically need a miss on that last rock at the end. You can make it a very hard shot that might not be made very often, but at the end of the day, you are expecting a miss
Especially
somewhere.
against a power play. You need a miss to steal against a power play.
It's tight.
So he's trying to get this one a little bit closer.
It's tight.
I'm wondering if it's because
Yeah,
he's trying to
tight.
make that pair on the side more of a risk.
Keep going, keep going. Good.
Good peel.
Okay, so another tight guard, another peel. Still no profound risk for Brett in this one. They are sticking to the side as
Just a
you
little more in
pointed
this
where
spot,
the
Josh.
contact rock is not heading towards the two in the house.
Yeah, it's so tempting to see, especially if we imagine that blue wasn't there and it was just a yellow in the house. It'd be so tempting
a little.
to
Okay, you're fine, you're fine.
try. But it doesn't tend to help you unless you make it just perfectly, and it can make it a little harder on your skipper, in this case here, your last rock thrower.
So now, where do you put this to
Just didn't want to burn them, like-
maximize the potential of a 1 point costly oops. My first feeling is about the same amount of biting of the 8 foot as the other yellow one. So that if they hit it, it doesn't count.
Sooner.
See if Jocelyn
Sooner
has
have a
lost her
draw.
draw weight. That's kind of what this is. Now,
What?
Sooner have her draw.
Yeah.
to a
'Cause that's
previous
like the
statement,
opening
you could even see them say, you know what, have one. I want to
Why is
keep
they're not going
hammering.
to miss it? So
That'd have been definitely
Yeah.
a choice if they still had their power play. I don't think they will in this case.
Yeah, and I think we'll see what they
Forward,
choose.
forward.
It's easy
No, you
to
gotta-
say, okay, we'll go 2 up with the hammer coming home. But there's a reason they're in the final of this event. There's a reason they're leading in the final of this event, and that's because Jocelyn Peterman can hit the button, hit the 4 foot, let alone the 8 foot. And
Correct.
I would be surprised if they started playing scared now, this late in the event.
Mine's good.
I bet you if you went to Kevin Martin and
Really
asked him,
now.
did you give up one in the 7th because you were scared? He'd probably say, no, it's because I want to be in
Mine's
control.
really good.
But 4-man versus mixed doubles, again, slightly different beast. In 4-man, you want to be up with hammer in the 8th end every time. Mixed doubles, it's not as decisive.
just enough. Very good.
As I was saying before, it's like 60-40 in favor of the team with hammer. So would you rather the extra point?
Edge.
Probably.
Yeah. What are you thinking for speed?
That like 14-3.
I like that.
So now here's a fun one. How many people would play one of the hits just to get rid of a yellow and hopefully roll in versus, you know what, I need to throw this in the 4 foot and get my one.
I think Kadriana put that in such a perfect spot. The roll is so
Or
steep.
do you want a hair more
You'd
than
really
that?
have to just hit it to give up a steal of 1. So that would have to be your tactic.
Well,
What I really liked,
it's back-to-back power plays, right?
Yeah.
So I think a 14-1 would be good.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yeah.
Nice
Surprised I
conversation
let
there.
her slid there, but-
absolutely, is what I really liked
15-4.
about
I'll swept all the way to fight the
the
eight.
discussion
You
at
know,
the
like,
far end
you got it.
is Jocelyn had a quick look, saw how deep the rock was, and then immediately put her broom down and said, I want to hit the 4 foot. There wasn't a hesitation. I think that shows the level of confidence she's bringing to this shot.
Max?
Too much?
No.
And astute
Mine's
to say,
good.
hey, we haven't thrown this path in
Back
what
4.
amounts to 3 ends now. So
It's not moving.
I know.
Curling
good.
now. Curling now. Curling really hard.
never hurts to have
Shot.
a giant human being
Yeah.
with a perfect judge of weight being your sweeper.
Good game. Congrats.
Thanks. Good game.
All right, well, they called that one a successful campaign. Congratulations to Peterman Gallant. Thank you to Lott Squared, and thanks for the organizers and everyone else.
Absolutely, and 4th time is the charm on the final there for Peterman Gallant, so I'm sure it'll feel nice to hold the trophy, take the overall win this time, but it goes to show that you lose a whole lot more finals than you win, and people only tend to remember the ones you win, but that's awesome for them to take that and take that momentum heading into the trials as well.
So I guess that means your good luck for them is better than my bad luck for them, because you are still undefeated in them winning games you've called, and I finally have one in the win book. So there
Excellent.
you go.
Before this, you had was it 3?
I was 0-3 calling games for them. Well, there you go.
Perfect. Well, we'll take the last word to our sponsors, and once again, they are the most important reason that we can run this event. So thank you very much to Visions Electronics, Distinctive Homes, Mary's Popcorn Shop, the Bow Valley Credit Union, Malcolm, Ridgewood, GDS, Wildlife Distillery, and the Rocky Mountain Soap Company. Finally, please keep an eye out for future events here in Banff and Canmore, and we will keep you posted on our social media and otherwise. Thank you so much for tuning in.